All right, in this video, we are going to talk about problem 4.116, fear of gangs. It says, in the article, Growing Pains and Fear of Gangs in Applied Psychology and Criminal Justice, B. Brown and W. Benedict examine the relationship between worry about a gang attack and actually being a victim of a gang attack. Interviews of a sample of high school students yielded the following contingency table. All right, and so what they want to know is, in part A, is how many of these students were the victim of a gang attack. So victim is over here, right, on the, over here are the rows, right, corresponding to that. And so they have yes and no. So the yes, right, would indicate that they were the victim of a gang attack. So we want all of the students, right, that were the victim of a gang attack, and that is 39. All right, so 39 students on that one. Okay. Let's see if I can pull that off and put it on the side over here. All right. Part B, it says how many of these students did not worry about gang attacks. So worry would be up here, right, on the top. And so when asked if they worry about gang attacks, they reported no. So they did not worry. So if you look down here, that would be 173 on that one. Okay. Next up is part C, right? And part C, they want to know how many of these students who worried about gang attacks were actual victims of such an attack. Okay, so looking at the column right here, we're interested in students who worried about gang attacks. So for the worry, they reported yes. So we only really care about students in this column right here. Right? So how many of those who worried about gang attacks were actually victims of attack? Well, that would mean that they reported yes, they were a victim. So that would be right here, and there would be 18 of those students. All right, part D. It says describe the events W1 and W2 and V1 in words. So the W1 is the event that a student worried, right, about a gang attack. You can see it, W1 is right here on this column, and that means that they reported yes as to the question that they worried about gang attacks. Okay, so that would be W1 in words. And then W2 and V1. So W2 is that they reported no, they did not worry about a gang attack, and they reported V1, right, which is that they reported that they were a victim of a gang attack, right? So V1 and W2. So W2 and V1 is the event that a student reported that they did not worry about the gang attack, and they were the victim of a gang attack. Okay. All right, and then in part E, they want to know what is the probability of each event in part D. So we want to know, hey, what's the probability of W1, right? For W1, that would be the frequency, right, is 40, so that number would go on top. And then the grand total, right, would go on the bottom, 213. All right, and then the other is, and so that's a marginal probability, right? So we want the probability of W2 and V1. So that one is a joint probability. So we would look, here's W2, right? They did not worry. And V1 is that they reported that they were the victim of an attack. And so the intersection of that column and that row is this cell right here, right? And that is 21. So that would be the frequency, how many people or students were in the event. and then divided by the number of students in the sample space is 21. All right, so 21 over 213. All right, and that is it on this one.